Good morning. Moshe Rabenu Part 3 Beshem Hashem Naaseh V'Natzliach. This shiur is dedicated to the safe return of our hostages, our chayalim, and displaced persons. For refuah shlema to our chayalim, our hostages, displaced persons, bereaved parents, and refuah shlema to Zechariah Dov ben Pearl Shira, Ora Badalia, Avraham ben Chana. Le'ilui Nishmat, David ben Gamila, and all those were murdered prior to October 7, on October 7, and since. May their neshamot, and each neshama should have an aliyah. For the success and nachat of our children in Torah and all their undertakings. For all our singles, שיזכו לבנות בית נאמן בישראל בקדושה ובטהרה. Thank you, Hashem, for all your chasadim. There are so many chasadim. Thank you to all my listeners. May Hashem bless you in all that you do, for wanting to grow and wanting to learn. So, to recap part 2 of Moshe Rabenu, the Orach Chaim brought 10 explanations about what was Moshe's sin, what was Moshe's avera when he hit the rock. Orach Chaim says that none of the 10 explanations, according to his opinion, really are the right ones. However, the Orach Chaim teaches us we have an obligation to get to the truth, to get to the emet, to remove any doubt about any topic of the Torah. So therefore, we must go and we must learn all we can, and especially in this topic, which when we look at it and we see what Moshe did and the punishment that he got, it seems that it's really out of place. It's out of proportion, but it isn't. And before I go on into my shiur, into the lesson, I would like to tell you a short story. There was at the time when the Rambam wrote his Perushim on the Torah. He wrote on the Korbanot, on the Gemara, on so many topics, on Emunah, and so many halacha, so many different topics. He spent hours and years, weeks, months, nights, days, writing and making sure that he's writing the right thing. However, when he published his books, his sefarim, many chachamim did not accept them, and they felt that the Rambam was writing the wrong things, explaining the Torah in the wrong way. And one of those chachamim was Rabenu Yonah Migerondi. He was from Spain, and he was very, very, very much against the Rambam. One night, this Rabenu Yonah, who was not just a simple little rabbi, and he had a dream. In his dream, he saw the Bet HaMikdash. He saw the Kohen Gadol wearing all his clothing of the Kehuna, and the Kohen Gadol was actually offering a korbanot, and there were Kohanim who were helping him, just the way it should be in the Bet HaMikdash. The sight was amazing. The Rabbeinu Yonah looked at it in his dream, And he was awed. He said, whoa, what a hadarat panim. Who is this Kohen Gadol? Wow, he couldn't believe it. It's still in his own dream. While he was dreaming, he was in awe when he looked at the Kohen Gadol. And he asked, who is this Kohen Gadol? And who are all these Kohanim? Each one seemed to be just unbelievable. He was in awe. There was an aura of Kedusha in that dream. And he was told that this Kohen Gadol is none other than the Rambam. And the Kohanim who are helping him were his Talmidim. Wow. When he woke up and he thought for a moment and went over his dream, he realized how wrong he had been to fight so much the Rambam. And he wrote Sefer the Teshuvah, and he, at that time, the Rambam had already passed away, and he had so much anguish and remorse because he had fought so much against the Rambam, and he was the one who had misunderstood the Rambam. But the Rambam had done the perfect job. So Chachamim tell us the reward that the Rambam had, that he received for spending so many hours and working so hard to get to the bottom of the Torah, to get to understand all those hard and difficult topics of the Torah, all those hours and days and years and nights that he spent explaining the Torah and teaching it so that we can understand it, Hashem rewarded him with this beautiful reward that he made the Bet HaMikdash for the Rambam in Shamayim. So Or HaChaim says, we have an obligation. It is an obligation on each and every one of us to understand the different passages, topics, especially the ones that we have difficulty with. Those are the ones that we need to really dwell on them and really learn exactly what went on. And that's what we are trying to do now. Right? So the Or HaChaim says that according to his opinion and according to his research, all those explanations that had been written, that we learned last week, he says that's not why Moshe sinned. And he says like this, that he found in the Yalkut Shimoni, he found the following explanation. Ya'an asher lo he'ematem bi. Hashem said to Moshe and to Aaron, because you did not believe in me. Here the Rambam says, the Or HaChaim says, there are 4 sins that are actually written in the Torah at that moment, which is actually this week's parasha, Parashat Chukat, about what went wrong. What is it that Moshe and Aaron did wrong? Okay? The first one is Lo he'emantem. You did not cause Bnei Israel to believe in me. Not that Moshe did not believe and Aaron didn't believe, but they did not cause Bnei Israel to grow in their emunah. Number 2, Lo kiddashtem. You did not make a kiddush Hashem. If you would have followed and understood my command, then you would have made a huge Kiddush Hashem. Number 3, me'altem. You committed an offense against me. You did something wrong against me. And number 4, meritem. You rebelled against me. Now, this seems to be so harsh, but this is what it says in the Pasuk. We're talking here about Moshe and Aaron, who wouldn't move a finger without Hashem's agreement. So exactly what happened? Okay, so according to the Or HaChaim, it says like this: each of these expressions point to a different sin. Lo ha'emantem bi, that you did not cause Ben Israel to believe in me. I commanded you to speak and not to hate. That's how you cause Ben Israel not to grow in the emunah. Hitting and speaking it to the rock is not the same. Number 2, lo kiddashtem oti. You did not make a kiddush Hashem, because I commanded you to get water from any rock that Ben Israel wanted you to, but you did not do so. You got water from the rock that you chose, not that Ben Israel chose. There's a difference, because if it's Ben Israel who chose, then the miracle is even greater in their eyes. Number 3, you me'altem bi, you committed an offense against me because you said, Notzi Mayim, we shall get water for you from this rock. Notzi, we, Aaron and Moshe? It's not. It's Hashem Yotzi. Number 4, Meritem, you rebelled against me because I told you to speak to the rock. Meaning that at that moment, speaking to the rock meant that Moshe was supposed to teach a certain perek of the Torah. We don't know what perek it is, but it is a perek that has to do with water, and that would have helped, that would have made the miracle happen if he would have taught that perek to Ben Israel. At that moment, the water would have come out. But you did not do it. Ve'avatem al devari. And you did not keep my word. Now, Or HaChaim explains the Yalkut Shimoni. According to the words of the Midrash, we can understand the meaning of the words of Hashem. So, number 1, why did Hashem tell Moshe to take the staff? And then he said, speak to the rock. Why did Hashem tell Moshe, take the mateh, the staff? Take the mateh, the staff. And then speak to the rock. Right? If Moshe was supposed to only speak to the rock, why did Hashem tell him, take the mateh? In Moshe's mind, Hashem said, take the mateh, it means use it. Right? Question number 2, why did Hashem repeat, V'dibatem el hasela, and you should speak to the rock, le'enehem, in front of Ben Israel? They have to be right there, all of them. V'natan meimav, and it will give from its water. V'hotzeta lahem mayim, and you will bring out water for them, for Ben Israel, min hasela, from the sela. So the question is, why did Hashem repeat the word sela, the rock? V'dibatem el hasela, speak to the rock, and you will take out water from the rock. Right? Number 3, was it necessary to say, V'natan mayim, meimav? Again, twice. Hashem says water twice. He's going to give from his water, and water will come out. So, So these are the three questions that the Orach Chaim brings from the Yalkut Shimoni. When Hashem said to Moshe, now here's the answer. Kach et hamate, take the staff. It was meant to be a symbol of Moshe's royal authority from Hashem. Hashem was giving Moshe power. So when someone possesses superpower, which is called Koach Elokit, power that comes from Hashem, or Koach Elyon, powers that can come from Shamayim, right? So Hashem was giving that superpower to Moshe at that moment, right? Hashem was giving permission to Moshe to do things that were not natural. That was to show that Moshe possessed this Koach Elyon, was to show to everyone that Moshe possessed, has been blessed with this Koach Elyon, with a power from heaven. But the purpose was not for Moshe to hit the rock with the mateh. It wasn't. The mateh was there just as a means to tell everyone, remember, this mateh is not a regular mateh. It's not just a stick. It's not just a staff. It has Hashem's name on it. And Hashem gave it to me, and it has powers, right? And it also had the names of the Shevatim and the Avot. So by Moshe holding the staff, the mateh, it would make it clear that the nes was performed, the miracle was performed by the royal authority of Hashem. That's what Hashem meant. Just hold it. Just like we see a king with holding his scepter. He doesn't use it always, but he has it with him. We all know if we see a king with a scepter in his hand, it means that that scepter has authority, right? So Hashem was not concerned that Moshe would make a mistake and think that the mateh was to hit the rock, right? So the mateh was only a symbol of authority of Hashem, that Hashem gave power to Moshe. Because Hashem said, V'dibatem el hasela, speak to the rock. But Moshe did not speak. And he hit the rock. This was considered the first sin, the first hit. So instead of just speaking to the rock, Moshe hit the rock. And then he spoke to it. But first he hit the rock. Moshe understood, if I have the stick, that's how I'm going to speak to the rock. Just like someone who's riding a donkey and he hits the donkey for the donkey to start moving, right? So that's how Moshe felt, okay? The only way I can speak to the rock is through hitting it. And then what it says, V'dibatem el hasela, speak to the rock, that Moshe should say the perek of the Torah. As I said before, it's a perek that we don't know which perek it is, but it's a special perek. Moshe did not do it. That was his second sin. But then it says, V'hotzeta mayim min hasela, and you will bring out water from the rock. That is really the basis of the last two sins. because Hashem's intention was don't look only for the rock, right? The rock, the previous rock, the rock that until now, the Be'er Miriam, that gave water to Ben Israel all along and traveled with Ben Israel. Ben Israel got water for 40 years because in the Zechut of Miriam, but Miriam had just passed away. So now Hashem says, don't give water from that rock. Give water from whichever rock Ben Israel would choose. And this answers the second question about the words of the Pasuk. V'dibartem el hasela, that you speak to the rock, le'enehem, in front of Ben Israel, v'natan meyemav, it's going to give of its water, lahem, to Ben Israel, mayim min hasela, water from the Sela. This rock was not the rock, was not the first rock. So the first time it says rock, v'dibartem el hasela, Hashem was saying to Moshe, not the rock of Miriam, not that one. Then Hashem repeats again Selah at the end. It's going to give water from the rock. What rock? The rock that Ben Israel would choose. Okay, but Moshe did not do so. How do we know? Because Moshe said to Bnei Israel, Shim'u na hamorim. Listen now, listen. Instructors. Everyone became suddenly an instructor. Everyone suddenly knew what Moshe was supposed to do. Everyone was screaming and yelling. The word hamorim has two meanings. Rebels and instructors. Meaning that Ben Israel were instructing Moshe what to do, how to get the water from a specific rock. And Moshe said, Hamin hasela hazeh? What, from this rock you want me to get water from? Meaning, do you think this rock is going to give water? No, it's not going to give water. Hashem told us to give water from Be'er Mayim. Then, that was a mistake. From Be'er Miriam? No. Then Moshe did two more mistakes because of this, because he got angry. Hashem told him, get water for them, in front of them, from whichever rock they want. He didn't do it. Instead, he approached the Be'er Miriam, the rock that had dried up because Miriam passed away, and they were used to getting water from there. Number two, Moshe made it look as if it was impossible to get water from the rock they chose. When he said, Hamin hasela hazeh, Ben Israel understood. Oh, Moshe means that from the rock that they chose, water cannot come out. Water can come out only from the Be'er of Miriam. So according to the Yalkut Shimoni, Or Chaim says, let's look closely. Let's look at the four Chataim. And says, we have an obligation, Or Chaim says, to understand the reasons for an action of Moshe Ish HaElokim. Moshe is called Ish HaElokim. Moshe is not one of us. Moshe was a malach. Yet he made a mistake. But we need to understand, Or Chaim says, where did this mistake come from? And so the Or Chaim explains his position regarding these four Chataim. which really, Chaim says, they don't really fit Moshe. It doesn't make sense. Moshe is not one to just sin just because, or because his Yetzer Hara got the better of him. Not at all. That's not Moshe. It's inconceivable to think. We cannot imagine to think that someone as great as Moshe would just not follow Hashem's instructions. It's impossible. Not Moshe. So it would seem correct to say that Moshe examined Hashem's words with Chokhmah. And because of his Yirat Shamayim, he made these 4 mistakes. Wow. This is what the Or HaChaim says. After searching and searching the topic. How so? Number 1. Moshe's first mistake, Hashem said, Kach et hamateh. Hashem said, take the staff. Now, and Moshe understood 2 things. To hit the rock. That's number 1. And the second one as a sign of authority of Hashem, to give him the ability to form the miracle. Because by holding the mateh, which had Shem HaMeforash, the name of Hashem written on it, he would be able to get water from the rock without hitting it. Right? Without hitting it. Or HaChaim says it is reasonable to understand Hashem's words in the simple meaning, to hit the rock. So again, Moshe understood he has to take the mateh for 2 reasons. 1, to hit the rock. Why else would he take it? And 2, to show his authority, that Hashem gave him the authority to change nature, to make a miracle. Right? Because according to Moshe's reasoning, why would Hashem tell him to take the mateh and not do anything with it? Moshe had used the mateh in Mitzrayim, by Kriyat Yamsuf, everywhere. Then, after the war against Amalek, Moshe put away the mateh. It was not necessary to use it. Now Hashem told him, get the mateh out of the Ohel Moed. Get it out. Take it with you. So Moshe said, obviously it means that I have to use it. Okay? Then the next words in the pasuk were, V'hotzeta lahem ma'im min hasela. And you're going to take out water, to get water out for them from the rock. And again, this repetition that we spoke about before, that twice it says in the pasuk, water from the rock, which was not necessary, right? And we know that there's no extra words in the Torah. So Moshe then understood, if Hashem is repeating twice, that means that he has to speak and hit the rock. Twice Hashem said min hasela, it means I have to hit the rock and hit it. And then the next will happen. And the taking of the mateh clarifies the speaking to the rock and hitting it. So Moshe understood taking it is for him to be able to speak to the rock, because you don't speak to a rock, right? And then hit it. That's what Moshe understood. According to the Midrash, Hashem's true intent in saying V'hotzeta ma'im min hasela, that you are going to get water out of the rock, was that if the people preferred a rock other than the well of Miriam, the Be'er Miriam, Moshe should follow their wishes. This is what Hashem was saying. Now, Or HaChaim explains why Moshe misunderstood the phrase "Vehotzeta mayim min hasela." You get water out of the rock. It did occur to Moshe that the meaning "Vehotzeta mayim min hasela," to get water, and you get water out of the rock, maybe the way Hashem actually intended it, as we previously learned for the Midrash, that Moshe should get water from whichever rock the Ben Israel would choose. But this is not. Moshe understood the phrase "V'hotzeta mayim min hasela," that he was to hit the rock, since he was first told to get the mate and then go to the sela. First get the mate and then go to the rock. In Moshe's eyes, it did not seem likely that this meant to just take it. It means like what? Just have it with you without doing anything with it. And so to Moshe, it seemed the mate would be to strike the rock, the sela. So to Moshe didn't make sense that Hashem would tell him, go to the Ohel Moed, get the mate, and just have it with you. Moshe said, doesn't make sense. Why would Hashem tell me to go and get it? Leave the mate where it is, and I can just go and speak to the sela. Hashem said no. Hashem said, take it. So Moshe understood, okay, if I have to take it, it means I have to use it and hit the rock. And the misunderstanding here is that the mate was supposed to be part of the action according to Moshe, by using it to hit the rock. So now the Or HaChaim explains, V'dibatem, and you speak, besides hitting the rock, you have to speak and command the rock to give water. And that's what Moshe understood. But it didn't occur to him that Hashem meant for Moshe to say a perek of the Torah that speaks about water right there and then, when Ben Israel were all gathered around him and they were all yelling and screaming. Moshe did not understand that. It didn't occur to him at all. He got upset from all the pressure. The anger did not make him understand, did not make him understand that he was supposed to learn with Ben Israel at that moment. Or HaChaim says even more, if one would examine and see, so if we look carefully, we will see that the meaning of the phrase V'dibartem, and you speak to the rock, changes based on the way one understands the meaning of the phrase. Kach et hamate. Hashem said kach hamate, and Hashem said V'dibartem. So how do we understand? How was Moshe supposed to understand? There's two ways to understand. Kach et hamate, and hit the rock and speak to the rock. Right? Why else would the mate be there? Or that the mate is only a symbol of royalty, a symbol that Hashem gave Moshe the permission to change nature, to make a miracle, and he was supposed just to speak. Logically, the rock would not respond when Moshe would speak to it. It wouldn't respond. Logically. It's not a living creature able to comprehend human speech, right? If we speak to people, it's because they're human. They can understand speech. But a rock, how is a rock going to understand speech? But Moshe would cause the rock to give water in one of two ways. What are they? Number one, through the action of hitting the rock with the mateh that had Hashem's name engraved on it. That's one way. There is nothing in the world. Now, here the Or HaChaim explains, there is nothing in the world, even among the plant and inanimate objects, that does not have a spiritual component to it. And it is that force of spirituality, everything, even a table, a pen, anything, a cabinet, has a component, it has something, some force of spirituality. So it's that force of spirituality that Moshe wanted to arouse. So he would give water when Moshe would speak to it. And this is how Moshe understood Hashem's command. Number two, the second way for the rock to give water was to learn Torah, the perek of Torah that deals with water. That it would arouse the spiritual component, the spiritual force of the rock to give water without being hit. Because the whole world was created with the Torah, and according to the Torah, every part of creation continues to exist only through the life-giving power of the Torah. The power of a perek of Torah can therefore cause even a rock to give water. Rocks don't have water. Therefore, if we explain that kachet hamateh, take the rock, was the purpose of hitting the rock, then there is no need to say a perek of the Torah. There's no need to learn, right? Because the hitting will be enough to get the water out of the rock. But if we explain that kachet hamateh was not in order to hit the rock, we have to explain then that when Hashem said speak to the rock, he meant to say a perek of the Torah. The power of saying a perek of the Torah is stronger than the mateh. And Hashem wanted Ben Yisrael to understand that. It's actually just reminded me that actually I was listening to a class and the rabbi was saying people are looking for all kinds of segulot. A segula for this, a segula for that, all kinds of segulot. But the rabbi says, the best segula is to learn Torah. You want panasa? Learn Torah. You want to feel better? Learn Torah. And he brought a story, and he said there was some young men who were learning yeshiva, and Ben Azmanim, it means like they had vacation from yeshiva, and they decided to go someplace just to relax. And that's what they did. So there were two friends. Let's call one Reuven and Shimon. And those two boys, Reuven and Shimon, they went and they were relaxing in the park, wherever they went. And suddenly Reuven had terrible pains in his hands as he was trying to exercise with his hands, and suddenly he felt terrible pains in his hands. He could barely bring down his hands. He didn't know what was going on. But his friends saw that he was really, really in a lot of pain. So he decided, I'll, take him to the doctor, take him to the emergency. He went to the emergency room and they did all kinds of tests and everything. After hours, the doctor comes on and says, what you have is something very difficult for us to treat, and we don't know if we can even treat it. There's nothing really we can do. For pain here's a prescription, take it for pain, but there's nothing else we can do. The boy said, what? He's young. He was barely 18, 19 years old. It's impossible. What am I going to do? His friend said to him, you know what? We're going to go and see Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, alav shalom. Let's go and visit him. Let's see what he says. And so they had to take a taxi. Obviously, this took weeks. It wasn't just all in one day. And with this Reuven was in a lot of pain. So he went to Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, was able to get an appointment. He came to Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky and he was crying, and his friend Shimon explained to Rabbi Chaim the problem that was having. Suddenly he has pain, the doctors don't know what to do about it. What should he do? Didn't take long for Rabbi Chaim, and Rabbi Chaim said, no problem. You have a problem with your hands? Go and learn the halachot of Netilat Yadayim. Over and over again. Don't stop. That's it. And so I said, okay, if that's what Rabbi Chaim says, then that's what we have to do. And so they went, they decided to meet every day, and even when they went back to yeshiva, every day they were learning halachot Netilat Yadayim. Every day they spent time, 10, 15 minutes, a half hour, every day learning halachot of Netilat Yadayim. Okay. As time passed by, for about a month or so later, he was supposed to go back to the doctor, but his hands were feeling better. Much better. Not 100% yet, but he was feeling better. When he went to the doctor made all kinds of exercises with his hand, up, down, sideways, squeeze, do this, do that. Doctor realized, wow, you're getting better. So he says to him, where have you been? Who did you go to see? He says, I went to see a very big doctor. Oh yeah? Who is he? What's his name? His name is Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky. What? What are you talking about? I said, yeah, he's a very, very, very big doctor. And what did he tell you to do? He told me to learn the halachot of Netilat Yadayim. Doctor was she's crazy. Right? Anyways, he left the doctor's office. The doctor still could not understand what went on. And Reuven Shimon kept on learning the halachot of Netilat Yadayim. They learned and they were learning. After a while, after a couple of months or so, they started to be a little negligent about it. By that time already, his hands were good. There was no problem with his hand. They started to be a little bit negligent. Oh, they didn't have time today. They didn't have time the next day. Or less time. They spent less time learning. And at the end, after a few days of negligence, he started to get pain again. And then he realized, I better start learning again. So this is the koach of the Torah. And this is what here is the strong message that Hashem was trying to teach Bnei Israel and wanted Moshe to teach Bnei Israel. By learning Torah, by learning that perek that spoke about water, wow, you'll get water. I mean, the Torah is really the secret for everything. The only arouses the rock so it can respond to Moshe's command to give water. The power of Torah, which is the Mekor Hayim. Mekor means the source of life. Both arouses the rock and causes it to give water. This perek is a specific perek of the Torah that has the power to give water. Since Hashem's intentions when telling Moshe to take the mateh only as a symbol of authority, it follows that Hashem's intention in saying speak to the rock was to say a perek of the Torah. Moshe, however, understood kachet hamateh, take the staff, was in order to hit the rock. V'dibatem, speak, command the rock to give water. This is the basis for Moshe's second mistake. So we see how Moshe misunderstood Hashem's command. It's not that Moshe knew and understood 100%, but he went against Hashem's wishes. So in our next part 4, we will, Be'ezrat Hashem, we learn how Moshe arrived at his decision. Have a good week and Shabbat Shalom.